Andrew Miller, Tarik LaCour, Shane Black from lookupheadlines.com. We also have Nino from NinosCorner Sports joining us today. We wanted to do a little bit more collaborative style content, get some more people from the Texas community involved. And so, Nino, you're the first guest that we've had on the show before. And so welcome, first of all. And like I said, hoping to be the first to get just more Texas community involvement here. And, you definitely get some good conversations going on Twitter. And so we appreciate you joining for the show.
Hey, man, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
For sure. The last few weeks, guys, we've been talking about recruiting. That's pretty much been the nonstop conversation. Yesterday, I did a video talking about summer workouts, some of the standouts there, but we're starting to wind that down. And so, Big 12 Media Day is coming up on Wednesday, fall camp starting in less than a month. You can kind of feel it now. It's, season's less than 2 months away. Alabama games now is less than 2 months away. It's crazy to think about. Summer's gone by pretty fast so far. What are y'all's thoughts headed into Big 12 Media Days? We start with you.
Yeah, man. So, it's the last one, right? So do I really want to see the guys there? No, but it is what it is, man. My only thing that, honestly, I want to see is, I think Worthy's going to be there. So I want to see how the culture fit is, to see what kind of answers he's going to give to the questions, especially with him being a guy who has kind of flirted the portal here for the last couple of years. I just want to see how the Sark culture is actually coming down to all the players, not just to Jalen Fords, who you can tell is completely bought in. I want to see how, X answer those questions.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see because, you had some guys that showed up at Big 12 Media Days last year that were just, slam dunks as representatives for Texas. Like Bijan Robinson, Rashawn Johnson, those guys are, just natural media draw. So you're right, Jalen Ford's going to kind of be that way too. But, yeah, you're going to have Xavier Worthy's going to be a little bit of a different presence there. I'll be interested to see. Tarik, what are you thinking?
I would start off Big 12 Media Days by saying I'm just here so I don't get fined. And I'm not going to say, please don't ask us any questions about the SEC because we'll answer SEC reporters when we do that. And we'll see you guys again here in Dallas in about, 3.5 months. And that's all we have to say, That's what I would do it. That's the thing. Sark, this is the last year in the Big 12. Instead of, Sark has always been the nice guy. He should go out there and have a little more swag. That's what I'd love to see him do that.
I would honestly go with the opposite take. My big takeaway was going to be, I hope we come out of Big 12 Media Days with no crazy headlines or storylines on the Texas front. It's one of those things. Texas favored to win the Big 12 for the first time in over a decade. I'd hope they kind of act like they've been there before. Just head down, answer the questions, get in, get out. And Tarik, like you said, maybe leave them with the we'll see you in the stadium, 3.5 months from now. But I'm hoping, nothing crazy happens, and hopefully there's not, a gang up on Texas and Oklahoma from the other media members. But yeah, I think the more under the radar, the better, kind of from my perspective.
One of the things that I kind of forgot that he was one of the representatives. I've just been all about Jahdae Barron being on that Jahdae Barron is underrated. I've tweeted out stat after stat. I did a giant post on the site earlier this year. It's crazy to me that was he like an all Big 12 honorable mention or something, wasn't a preseason all Big 12 pick. And he was not just one of the best defensive backs in the Big 12 last season, but one of the most reliable, and at least at the nickelback position, one of the best in the entire country. So the fact that he's one of the representatives, I think that's a chance for him to really carry that chip on his shoulder and carry that right into the season. I'm a big fan of his personally, so I'm excited to see him represent the program for sure.
The fact that he wasn't almost a unanimous all Big 12 DBs just reminds you that the people who are voting for these things are not watching games.
Basically half of the representatives for Texas here were completely boned by the Big 12. In the award voting last year. So yeah, I guess that'll be an elephant in the room for them. I guess we'll transition here. Look into more of the season, how the Big 12 shapes up. I think Shane, you mentioned it a moment ago. Texas is the favorite to win the Big 12 this year. I don't know if they have been, what has it been, almost 2 decades now since Texas was this heavy of a favorite to win the Big 12?
2009 last time.
Were they this heavy of a favorite in 2009?
I don't know if
I
they
thought
were this
in the
heavy,
Big
but
12
they were the by and far favorite that year.
Okay.
So
yeah, and so I mean, like, yeah, obviously, how do you handle the expectations this year? But for one thing, like, I don't see where the competition's coming from in the Big 12. So for one thing, I'll ask y'all this. Texas right now, obviously the favorite to win the Big 12. Do y'all think that there's going to be another team that can really challenge Texas? Do you think Texas is going to be able to get off to a good start in the Big 12? I guess I don't want to say live up to the hype this year. It's a tired question, but what are y'all thinking for the Big 12 heading into the season?
Yeah, so man, look, anytime you have OU in the conference, OU has a pretty easy schedule this year. They're got a first 3 easy games. They're going to come into the shootout there in Dallas probably 5-0. I mean, honestly, they should. I think their hardest game is going to be against probably SMU, right? So they got a pretty rosy schedule there going into the shootout, right? So, OU has the opportunity, I think, to actually get some games won this year. It's going to be interesting just to see how that offense is going to kick off. With the defense, hopefully being not as good either. Because last year they had a horrible defense. Hopefully it's the same. Like this year. But look, if I had to put money on it, BV is going to have his team ready when it comes to his defensive side of the ball. So I would say OU is going to be a threat. I think TCU is not going to be so much of a threat this year. Just the sheer thought that they lost so many players. Kansas State doesn't have Deuce Vaughn coming back through that door again. Let me see. Who else, man? Probably just OU, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah, Kansas State's kind of my pick for second place right now, but I don't think there's a clear second. Maybe OU probably is the clear second right now. Yeah, that's a fair point, Nina. Tarik, what are you thinking? Oh, Shane, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Nina made a good point in regards to scheduling because Texas is slated to face, and say what you want, the quality and depth of the Big 12 isn't like the SEC and Big 10. And I wouldn't argue for that, but Texas is slated to face teams 2 through 6 in the Big 12 preseason poll, and Oklahoma faces 6 of the bottom 7. So while Texas probably got the more favorable schedule in 2024 in the first season in the SEC, to leave the Big 12, this schedule certainly favors the Sooners. And, to throw them to the side would be foolish, just what they've done. And, obviously Venable's not the start you wanted in year one, but I think Gabriel is going to be a pretty dang good quarterback in 2023. And I think that game in Dallas is going to have big implications come season's end.
I think there's a good chance, for OU that Texas, yeah, the Alabama defense probably going to be pretty good. But there's a good chance that OU could be the second best defense that Texas faces in the first half of the season. That is true. OU's schedule really doesn't heat up until the end. They kind of did get boned by the Big 12 in November. Road trip to BYU in late November. That's not what you want. So,
I've lived in Utah. Those Novembers are not pretty.
Yeah, but yeah, Tarik, what are you thinking for the Big 12?
The team that you haven't mentioned is Texas Tech.
Yeah,
I think they have a better quarterback situation of the Big 12 teams, where with Tyler Shuck and Morton, who I would be more afraid of than Dylan Gabriel, if I'm being honest. Gabriel is a really good Group of 5 quarterback and a solid Power 5 quarterback, but I wouldn't spend. He's not Caleb Williams. He's not Kyler Murray or some of the other great OU quarterbacks. He's a solid. Don't sleep on him by any means. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to run that offense, but he doesn't strike fear the way other Oklahoma quarterbacks have. This is the first time, I guess, the past 2 years. This is going to be a big change of Texas going into Red River with the clear. It almost seems like with the better quarterback situation, better quarterback room. So that's good. I'm not gonna. In a way, like Texas shouldn't have like that rough of a time with a lot of the Big 12 teams, but I do think what's really going to set the tone of the season is the Alabama game. If you can get through that game, if you can win that game, you can beat everyone in the Big 12. You kind of have to psychologically get through that road bump there. So that's, I think, going to set the tone. But regardless, Texas should be in Dallas in December, and they should win the Big 12. And I think if they don't win the Big 12, it's going to be a disappointment of a season. It's going to be a failure at that point if they don't win the Big 12. So I'm not going to change that up in the season. Like, if you should win the Big 12. Like, if Nick Saban or Urban Meyer or a lot of other coaches saw this schedule and this roster, they would be dancing for joy. So if Sark wants to be the guy that he needs to be as we go in the SEC, he needs to get it done.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the schedule is very favorable. I mean, there's that 3-game stretch at the end of the season that Texas has where you have road games against TCU and Iowa State.
I remember Jalen Daniels is the quarterback apparently the best quarterback in the Big 12, and you get him at home. So,
but that's the week before OU too, so that could play a lot.
I think that's a good thing because that's going to really prepare you and force you not to look up a week ahead. Because you know what Jalen Daniels did to the last time he came to DKR.
Monster.
Yeah.
He's a monster.
It's unfortunate too. You get him early in the season in a way, just because, I mean, he's a dual threat quarterback. He's going to come in probably fresh legs and healthy shoulder. I mean, that shoulder injury last year. Yeah. I mean, he played against Texas, but that wasn't 100% Jalen Daniels. So, yeah, I mean, that's going to be an underrated game, I think. But so I'm looking here, guys, at Caesars. It's DraftKings Sportsbook. And I think most sportsbooks have Texas around this number at 9.5 for the win total for the season. I'll say over. What are y'all thinking? I think I know the way that y'all are going to go on this, but
yeah, over. It's over. I got 10 games minimum. They should win 10 games easy this year with this roster, man. I mean, I think Quinn's going to have a hell of a season this year. This is his second year in Sark's system. Sark has a thing with his quarterbacks for their second year. They usually jump strides. And I know people are like, well, he didn't look so good in the spring game, yada, yada. But these are the same people that praise Murphy for looking really good in the spring game. This is his second year in Sark's system. Quinn's going to be fine this year. Quinn's going to be fine with the weapons he has, having X, having Nayer and A.D. Mitchell, Whitting. Yeah, I mean, godly, Jonte Cook, DeAndre Moore, Sanders. I mean, come on, man. He has weapons at his disposal. Don't
forget Keelan Robinson.
Yeah, Keelan, Jonathan Brooks. Brooks is going to be, I think, my breakout star this year. People are going to think we're going to have a massive drop-off, I think, at the running back position because we got Bijan gone and also Rojo. And I don't think it's going to be that massive. Yes, it's going to be a big drop-off because Bijan is a transcendent guy, right? But Bijan ran the ball behind 2 to 3 freshmen last year. Those freshmen are a lot more seasoned this year. I think this offensive line is going to be a lot better this year. I think Kelvin Banks is going to be better than what he was last year, and he was probably the best tackle in the league last year. Cole Hudson, if he can get his strength up. I mean, he was, actually battling injuries as well last year. But if he's healthy, and DJ Campbell and Neto and Cam Williams, these guys got a whole year in the program. This is their second off season. I think this line is going to be light years better than last year. And I think Jonathan Brooks and Keelan Robinson, and Savion Red, those guys are going to eat this year. They're going to eat really well.
I think the thing that some people are overlooking with Jonathan Brooks, to your point, Nino, is that he might be a bigger home run hitter than Bijan and Rashawn for sure. Is he better like the short area quickness, or is he better at shaking tackles than Bijan? Does he have better stiff arm? No. But can the dude just have one cut to the outside and then he's gone? Absolutely. We've seen that time and time again when he's actually getting reps.
Yeah, so. And his vision is outstanding. And that's what people don't give him credit for. It's just just how patient he is as a runner. He's very patient. The vision is there. And I tell you what, man, he makes that one cut. Once he gets to the open field, man, I mean, he can take it to the house any day of the week. Hey, look, just in the bowl game, 8 touches, 2 touchdowns, right? 8 touches, 2 touchdowns. And he was injured.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I was going to say that same thing, is that he has the ability to kind of do something Bijan can do, and that's make a play that's not there, because on that screen pass, that was not a touchdown. That was, I'm doing this on my own. I'm making this happen. And, you can't teach. He does some things you can't teach. He has I know this will make Shane upset, but he kind of reminds me a little bit. He has that Tony Dorsett kind of to him, kind of like it. It's like he's not like the fastest guy, but like when he starts moving, you don't realize how fast he's going, type of a thing. And he's also he has really good balance. That's another thing. But to your point, Andrew, I think I would take the over at 9.5. So I would say Texas gets to 10 wins. If they got to 9-3, I still think they would make the Big 12 title game, but you would be getting in by the skin of your teeth, and we'd be worried that last week or two. So let's hope we don't get there. But yeah, I think you should get to 10 wins. I think I'm president of the Quinn Ewers fan club. I think he's going to be really good this year. I think this is going to be an offense we really haven't been used to at Texas, where you have 4 draftable, draft eligible, 4 or 5 draftable receivers that you're going to be throwing to, and a tight end who could maybe sneak into the first round. I can't remember the last time Texas had all that. I think A.D. Mitchell and Sanders and Nayor are going to be very, very good in the red zone for Quinn, throwing those high balls. I think also Xavier Worthy, they'll be able to use him in different ways except throwing him the deep ball. I don't think that's really Worthy's strength, and that's okay. It wasn't always Devonta Smith's strength for a long time, but and even in the spring game, as to Nino's point, Quinn threw a beautiful ball to Xavier Worthy that should have been a touchdown, but he wasn't aware he was that close to the sideline. Don't know how that happened, but that's fine. It was still he's tracking the ball better. I think Chris Jackson's making a really big impact there. But what makes me really bullish is I think this defense is going to be lights out. They all the talent is there, and with guys like Jalen Catalon on the back end, throwing Terrence Brooks, you throw in I think Manny Muhammad's going to make a big impact. Anthony Hill, Ethan Burke, got some better guys coming off the edge. Not having Ovie Gofu will be a plus in and of itself. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, the talent's there to get 10 wins, maybe 11, and push for a playoff spot. I think the ceiling for this Texas team is to get into the Final Four, and I think the floor will be getting into the Big 12 championship game. So Texas at least needs to do the middle, which is win the Big 12.
Yeah, so I'm going to come in and in regard to the win total be the fun killer, because just logistically, I know this guy, but just logistically, if you look at it, Texas 7-point underdog in Tuscaloosa. They lose that game, they're 1-1. They have to go 9-1 the rest of the season. And while I certainly think that's possible, I think I just have my guard up. Like I think a lot of Texas fans have. I don't want to get, over my skis, and I think this roster is really talented and should win the Big 12. But to go 9-1 in those final 10 games, you can give them the Wyoming game, so then 8-1 in the Big 12. That just seems a little optimistic. I wouldn't put money on it either way. I think 9.5 is the perfect number. But if you do have that over ticket and they go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama, I think you're then sitting pretty, because the confidence starts to roll, and then you only have to go 7-2 in the Big 12 to pick up that over. But yeah, I mean, ton of talent on this team. I like on the defensive side of the ball, Tarik, you mentioned. I like how in the middle is where you have all that experience. Obviously, you lose Coburn and Ojimo up front, but having Byron Murphy, Tavondre Sweat on the D-line, then you go back to Jalen Ford at middle linebacker, and then Jaron Thompson kind of quarterbacking that defense in the middle of the secondary. I like how right up the middle is where the strengths are. So Texas is going to try to force you to the boundary, and then okay, now you have Ryan Watts. You're going to have Anthony Hill running sideline to sideline. So I think this defense is going to be really, really good. And so I'm really optimistic. I would just say on the win total, it's not something that I bet over just because I'd be crying at the window when I'm not cashing that ticket.
Let me ask you this question, Shane. What let's say Texas wins in Tuscaloosa, which I think is definitely by far the biggest game, and that's the game I definitely wouldn't bet on because I never will bet against Nick Saban. But if you do that and you don't get 10-2, then you massively underachieve. You agree that?
I completely agree. I think it's got to be 7 wins in the Big 12. I'm just worried if you go 2-1 out of conference, then that 7-2 will get you to 9-3. But yeah, if you're not winning 7 games in the Big 12 this year, despite playing 2 through 6, there's no excuse really with the schedule. So yeah, I think it's Big 12 title or bust. I'm just a little wary of the win total.
All right, I'm pretty much with you there.
Yeah, it's the same here too, man. My only thing is Texas has to stay healthy, right? We don't have the depth yet, which is crazy because we have one of the most talented teams in the league, but I don't think we have the depth when it comes to experience in the trenches on the offensive side of the ball yet, right? So I think next year that depth is really going to be there because those guys that we got last year and actually 2 years ago as well, those classes would be in their junior year going into the SEC. Those guys are going to be starting doing great things. And then those backups, the Connor Strohs, the Akojos, the Peyton Kirklands, those guys would be their second year in the program. And then along with the class that's coming in this year with Daniel Cruz, right? And so I think that's where the depth is going to start to get built. Texas has to come out of this offseason with no injuries. And I think they kind of make it through these first 6 games with no real injuries, especially no more injuries to quarterback. Even though I do feel comfortable with Murphy, I think Murphy will do an outstanding job if given the opportunity. I've actually coined him as probably the most important person on this whole entire team because I think he has to step up in case Quinn does get hurt. Because if he doesn't, then we're back at square one, starting a true freshman, which is something that Texas has been fighting ever since Coates left. And every time we've done this, we have to have some kind of true freshman come and save us, whether it's Shane, whether it's Sam, whether it's Gerard Hurd. Yeah. So that's something that we just can't have here at Texas. So gotta come out injury free.
Yeah, I mean, I know I don't want to revisit this too much, but yeah, because if you don't lose, I mean, injuries happen. They were going to happen at some point last year. It's just unfortunate it happened the way it did with Nair and Angulau last year because those 2 injuries were devastating. That had to have cost the team at least 1 or 2 wins. On a more positive note, before I kind of mentioned like some more specific storylines for the team, we've touched on a few reasons for optimism and concern so far already, but just like a quick trivia question for y'all. And you can just scatter shoot it here. So Isaiah Nayor has like 52 career catches, obviously all coming up when he was at Wyoming. How many of those do y'all think were contested catches?
I'll say 33.
33. Okay.
It's lower than that. I'm gonna say 13.
Okay. Yeah, Nino, you're pretty close. Shane, what?
Yeah, I would say 15.
Yeah, it's 17. So to put it in perspective, Xavier Worthy, and I know he's not a big contested catch guy, but Xavier Worthy has 122 career catches and 10 contested catches. Isaiah Nayor has 52 catches and 17 contested catches. That guy.
The reason I put it so high is because when you look at his highlights, it seems like someone's hanging on him, and he's just like, yeah, okay.
And it didn't really matter the level of competition for him. He was better than pretty much everyone he played. I know that the Mountain West actually has some pretty good teams in it.
Yeah.
And so
that was a running team too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah. Whenever he got the ball, he was chucking it up to the outside. It was like playing like Les Miles LSU style offense. Just chuck it up to one of your guys on the boundary and hope they come down with it. But it was, yeah. And so, getting him back, it sounds like his rehab is progressing pretty well. And I mean, obviously you have A.D. Mitchell on the boundary, another guy that's just insanely good, and it's just going to be a great target for Ewers to have. Ewers didn't have that many crutches last year. I know that people always talk about the amount of weapons he has this year, and that's true, but like, Tark, we've specifically mentioned this on this show, him having like taller receivers that really have these insane catch radiuses and can bail you out of trouble. Not only is that going to help Ewers just get in a better rhythm, but I mean, we saw so many times last season when, Ewers would have a bad mistake or something early in games, and then it would just mentally break him down as the game went along, or just he wasn't able to get over that. Iowa State, Oklahoma State, I think were two good examples of that, even Baylor to some degree. And so you got guys that are going to prevent those plays from happening where, instead of having a tip ball deflection, you're going to have Isaiah Nayor going up 4 feet, climbing the ladder and bringing a contested ball down. Same thing with A.D. Mitchell, JT Sanders, another year in the system. He's going to be even better. Not to mention your reliable guys you're getting back healthy. Xavier Worthy, knock on wood, hopefully Jordan Whittington has another healthy career year.
But with Jordan Whittington, what makes me excited about him is he's more in his natural role of being a slot guy. I don't think he's just not an outside guy. He was forced to do it because you had no choice, but he's really a slot.
You're right. Yeah. I still would, especially at this point, I would rather have Whittington in the slot and Kane on the boundary if you got down to that level of the depth chart. Hopefully we don't, but yeah. So I'll go ahead. There was one thing that's like been at the top of my mind recently for Texas, and that's setting the tone on the ground. So this is one of my it's not reasons for concern, but I think it's like kind of an X factor for this year. We talked about Jonathan Brooks. I wanted to follow up on something you said earlier in the video where, you're talking about Kelvin Banks being even better this year. I think the way that can manifest itself is by him improving mainly as a run blocker. If he becomes the best offensive tackle in run blocking, because Christian Jones, hands down, that's his strength is setting the edge. And so I think if Kelvin Banks becomes the best run blocker on the team, that Texas is going to easily have 1,000-yard rusher this year, whether that's CJ Baxter, whether that's I don't doubt Jaden Blue could do that if the offensive tackles are run blocking that well and the interior improves. But yeah, probably CJ Baxter, Jonathan Brooks. So for me, yeah, I mean, the obvious thing is the interior run blocking has to improve. Maybe it's Cole Hudson sliding over to center. Sounds like he's taking reps there now. I think Hayden Connor's permanently a guard, which he's probably the best interior guy we got right now. And so, I think that if Kelvin Banks can take that next step as a run blocker and we get one guy, whether that's CJ Baxter, Jonathan Brooks, or multiple guys that are really running the outside zone effectively early in the season, that the offense is going to come alive and will be the best in the Big 12. But I think run blocking, that's an X factor for me.
Well, let me throw out this question to you all. So you mentioned Cole Hudson. So this is going to be the second time in the offseason that Jake Majors is being challenged at center. So do you take that to be either A, Kyle Flood just wants to get a guy to be a reliable backup in case Majors goes down, or is this more they respect Majors, they like what he does, but they realize to do what we really like to do, we have to get bigger in the center. So they really want Hudson to win that job. I kind of lean towards the latter because it's kind of ominous to me that you did this with Angelau and it was looking like Angelau was going to be the guy. And then he went down and then you kind of changed the offense a lot the last few weeks. And now you want Hudson to do it again, which I mean was kind of, we always thought Hudson would end up being a center, but the fact that you're doing it now tells me like, no, if we want to run the ball the way we want to, and also if we want to do the quick passing game where you really have to be good, that where the middle three are just as important as the outside tackles for your quick game, because you can't just have guys coming straight through the middle. That tells me they kind of want Hudson to win that job, even though if they're not like obviously going to say that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, exactly. It's the latter. I mean, it has to be.
I was just making sure I wasn't like this wasn't a conspiracy theory. Like,
no, man.
Check that.
We know Cal Flood loves, what's his word? Big humans. He loves big humans. And then also Cole Hudson's his guy. He recruited him, right? And so, coaches can be arrogant. And I'm not saying Cal Flood's arrogant or, Sark's arrogant, but to be at this level of coaching, you got to have a little bit of moxie about yourself. those are his guys. He knows when he recruited those guys, he had a vision for exactly what he wanted to do with that offensive line. He inherited Jake Majors, right? He inherited Christian Jones, right? So Christian Jones is paying out to be outstanding. I mean, he's planning out to be outstanding at the right tackle position. But Kyle Flood was tinkering with Christian Jones and Cam Williams. And the rumor was Cam Williams was neck and neck with him. And, he might have gotten that job if it wasn't for injuries, right? So, Kyle Flood likes big guys. He likes strong guys. And the knock on Jake Majors is that his strength isn't where it needs to be, especially as the anchor of the line. And so, yeah, I think he is tinkering around with Cole Hudson, trying to get him at center because he's a bigger guy, just a naturally stronger guy. You have him with Hayden Conner next to him and DJ Campbell next to him on the right side, and then Christian Jones at tackle, and then you got, of course, Banks at the left tackle position. And so 4 of the guys on that line are going to be Kyle Flood guys, right? Those are his guys. And then you sprinkle Neto in there too as well, because he's going to get a lot of playing time this year too. So I'm telling you, man, he's trying to get a line exactly what he wants, a bigger offensive line that's going to be able to push people. And I don't think he thought he had that last year.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of y'all. And I think DJ Campbell factors in here too, because he's, from all accounts, still a bit injured. I think I read he's in a sling, but he's going to push his way onto the field, and that's probably going to be at right guard. So then what do you do with Hudson? You just slot him on the bench? No, you're going to run him some snaps at center and give him the opportunity to win that job. So I think Hudson getting run at center has a lot to do with major size, but also has something to do with, Flood seeing the writing on the wall with DJ Campbell, obviously, former 5-star coming up and through and, really pushing for that right guard spot.
I think that Kyle Flood kind of looks at Jake Majors like they did, like let's say like Andre Carrick, where it's like they like him, what he's contributed to the program, trust him enough to at least have a spot on the 2 deep or some role, but otherwise don't really want to be a starter. And so, Carrick's now at Tennessee, I think Majors, also, Tarik, I don't doubt that by the end of the season, especially if Hudson is the starting center this year, if that ends up coming to fruition, that Connor Robertson might be the backup by the end of the season. I think that's their backup of the future, if you will, because Daniel Cruz is the center that Kyle Flood wants in the SEC. He's made that abundantly clear. I hope that we just find an answer here so we can stop talking about who's getting reps at center next. I've been talking about this for 15 months now.
You've talked this for almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not a knock on Jake Majors. I think Jake Majors was a great center for what Tom Herman was doing, where you wanted those quicker guys. But where Flood wants a lot of power, it doesn't fit as well. And you really saw that in the Washington game, where they just put the nose tackle right over him and we couldn't really run the ball. And that's kind of what happened there. And if you don't think that Nick Saban didn't notice that and is going to do the exact same thing, it's like you don't know Nick Saban.
Yeah, Jaheim Otis. You heard of Jaheim Otis?
It's like, all right, he's like, you over him, you don't move, we'll be good.
That could win. You just mentioned in the Washington game, that will win or lose you a football game. And you have to be prepared to combat that. So.
Yeah, I think it's also the similar case to what you have with Vernon Broughton on the other side of the ball, where it's just like, Jake Majors was a blue chip guy coming out of high school. And obviously Vernon Broughton was like high 4-star. He just has not lived up to it so far, but they're just not big enough. Like they get moved off the ball too easily. They get pushed around. So got to find other answers. So are there any other kind of just reasons for optimism or concern that y'all have heading into the season? Obviously there's a ton that you could touch on, but
I think sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was actually going to pose this question to you, Tarik, is, because we talked about Justice Finkley so much, where does that edge pressure come from? Do you have obviously Barron Sorrell is going to hopefully be that guy, but who else besides Sorrell are you hoping that steps up? Is it still Finkley or?
I'm starting to lean more towards Burke. I'm not because I was watching the spring game and some other times Finkley got on the field last year. I'm actually doing like a rewatch of last season. I think Finkley is better with his hand on the ground than just coming off the edge. He just doesn't have and that's fine. I mean, the fact that, look, undersized guys, sometimes it doesn't make sense how well you play football there, but like when he can use the center of gravity and things like that, he's just better that way. I'm not as sold on him coming off the edge. I think that's more Ethan Burke and Colton Vossick's type of a game. So I think you're going to need something from Burke, and you're really going to need something from Jamon Tapp, I have a feeling. So hopefully you'll kind of see that. I mean, I think Finkley can play that in a pinch, but I think if he's backing up maybe Sorrell at Jack, that's probably a better Sorrell's the Buck, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Buck.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry. He's the Buck. If he plays Buck, I think that's probably a better fit. You're gonna need probably Barron Sorrell to do some more inside rushing kind of stuff and moving him around. He's not Aaron Donald, but you can use him in that similar type of fashion, I think. And also, I think with Catalan and Watts, you can use those guys in different types of ways. But ultimately, the answer is going to be Anthony Hill.
Yes, I was about to say that.
I was like, hold on, but you do have a trump card, and that's Anthony Hill. I mean, that guy's he's a freak of nature. It's just incredible. I mean, people were saying, well, it's going to take some time, and that's and he's like the best player on the field all throughout the spring, and everyone's like, oh, well, some people are just different, and he's one of those guys. So I think you'll see him coming off the edge, using him through the middle. There are some things you just can't teach, and the guy, he's just farm strong. He can get through anything. You can take him off the edge. And I'm also interested to see exactly how they're going to use Devondre Sweat, because Sweat's a better pass rusher than given credit for. He was moving guys in that Alabama game. It wasn't a mistake that he was knocking Bryce Young down a couple times that he didn't get the sack, but I think there are ways to generate a pass rush, for better or worse. But I don't know if it's going to come from one player, but the one player I would probably, if I had to pencil it in, would be Burke and Hill.
Yeah, I agree with that. Lots of folks want Anthony Hill to come in and start like right next to Jalen Ford, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's going to be a battle between Benda and also Blackwell, right? And so I think you're going to see Hill come in a lot of situational, like pass rushing. And man, I'm telling you, he is fast off the edge. He's fast up the middle as well. Him just being a true freshman, it's just this team is built really well right now to win right now. And, the old saying from Joe Pop is, for every freshman you have starting, that's a game lost, right? So if you got a true freshman starting, especially at a position at linebacker, which is very key in, this defense, there's going to be some mistakes that are going to be made, right? And so I don't know if the team really wants to, kind of allow that to happen right now for this season. He's going to play a lot, but it's going to be, I think, in situational pass rushing situations.
I think for Hill, what I've gathered just by his usage so far is that he still has some strides he needs to make in pass coverage. Demo never really got it, like, in pass coverage. Obviously, he was a lengthy guy. He could really pop some guys in the middle of the field too. But, like, I think if you have Hill in those situations next to Ford, you're taking a situation where Texas last season had to find a way to cover up Demo in pass coverage between the numbers. And you're taking that to another level where there's even more inconsistencies. You're just finding other ways to get teams to pick you apart and dink and dunk you. And we saw teams make Texas pay early last season for that. So, Tarik, I've been a fan. We've talked about this before, Shane. I know we've talked about this before too. I really hope Jamon Tapp makes some strides, I guess, during fall camp, because I was a really big fan of his coming out of high school. I know he was pretty raw, but I hope he is able to take that next step, because, man, he's just too talented. He's just a ferocious pass rusher. I think, we can go ahead and take a look at fall camp now because we're getting so close that feels like we should talk about it. I feel like for me, probably one of the biggest storylines heading into fall camp beyond like just the plethora of new additions to the program, who will make an impact, things like that, is really seeing how, well, for one, the backup quarterback battle. I think that's going to be probably the biggest storyline. So I guess we can start there. Do y'all think it's just going to be Murphy? I guess we can go ahead and get that out of the way.
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be. You gotta
unless Arch would have to do something pretty incredible in the spring to unseat Murphy at this point. And I'll just go on the record that because now Jeff Ketchum has made this point of Arch is going to be the starter next year because no one of Arch's caliber has sat for 2 years. Well, there's a first time for everything. I definitely think Murphy could win the starting job next year. So.
Yeah, I think that's the best case scenario, to be honest with you. Guys, I think Malik Murphy is going to be a stud. I'm hoping he's a stud at Texas in 2024, according to the SEC. 6'6", 6'7" quarterback that's bigger than most defensive ends here in the league, who can sling the rock. I mean, and think about it, folks. This is the first guy Sark recruited to come to Texas at quarterback. Like, that's his quarterback. That's who he wants to command this offense. Just so happens that Arch Manning was the second guy, right? So, so Ketchum basically saying that a quarterback of that kind of stature doesn't sit for 2 years, and that is true. But Texas has been stacking a bunch of quarterback talent, and Arch isn't your normal quarterback. He doesn't have to get in right away to make a difference so he can hurry up and go to the league, because he already has the security blanket of being a Manning. He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to be a Vince Young and have to go to the league when he doesn't want to because he has to support his family. Or, he doesn't have to make those hard decisions, right? His decisions could be, let me sit for 2 years. Let me absorb this game. When I come in as a redshirt sophomore, I'm going to be that guy, and everybody knows I'm going to be that guy, and it's only going to benefit me more by sitting in next year. But I hope that Murphy does this thing, and I hope he is our starting quarterback, in 2024. And if we do need him this year, I have all confidence that he should be ready as well.
I guess I should start with this too. I hope he stays healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we need that foot to be much healthier than it has been. I think a lot of people forget this too, that there was a point in time before injuries started to stack up for him that he was the number 2 quarterback in the 247 Sports composite in the 2022 class, only behind Quinn Ewers. Obviously, that was before Quinn Ewers reclassified, but I mean, the dude's crazy talented, and just in terms of talent, physical upside, I mean, yeah, I don't think there's like a huge difference between him and Arch. I don't. But
yeah, and also just a chatter coming from, just kind of behind the scenes and just talking to folks is that, he's a guy people want to follow. Like, he has that moxie about him, right? I mean, like he has that it factor. And I was in school, when Vince Young was there, and Vince had the it factor. I mean, Vince would come in the jester. I mean, he was it. He was Vince. He would shake everybody's hands. He would dap everybody up. I was like the whole football players RA and stuff too. So I knew all the football players, and I still talk to some of those guys to this day. And I tell you what, he was the guy that when he wasn't around, the players still continued to talk about him because they loved to be around him and loved him. And I think Murphy kind of has that rare quality about him where people want to follow him. They genuinely like him, and he's talented too. Most people can be liked, but do they have that outstanding talent, to make people want to follow him? And I think that that's very evident that, I think that he actually has that talent and that actual, ability to have people follow him.
Yeah, and I think kind of transitioning back to this fall, I think Quinn has grown that, especially this spring and early summer, which is a great sign going into this fall because, ideally he is 1 more year and done, and then, a top pick in the 2024 NFL draft. So kind of having that magnetic field and like knowing you're the guy, but carrying yourself in the right way, I think is huge. I think Quinn has picked that up. It took him a little bit. Obviously, people refer to last season as his true freshman year because just 3 months in Columbus. But Quinn, I think from all accounts, it's looked like he's developed that admiration from his teammates as well. And I'm excited to see how that translates to on the field play.
Now, folks, I think the thing here is, and all this hinges on Quinn. Like all this for the next couple seasons hinges on Quinn's season this year. If Quinn doesn't go out there, or let's say he has a good season, and let's say Texas goes 9-3, but he just doesn't look great, is he going to go to the league? Is he going to jump and go to the league, or is he going to stay in and try to hone his talent in some more, right? So I think all this is Quinn has to have a great season this year. He has to have a great season. He has to leave and go to the league. If he doesn't, that's going to be a situation to where I don't want to see that here in Texas, because you're going to have somebody's going to jump ship and leave because Quinn's coming back, probably Murphy. And then is Arch going to really I don't think Arch would leave, but I think Murphy would definitely leave if Quinn doesn't have the season he's supposed to have and comes back, and is given preferential treatment that he's going to be the starter, even though everybody was anticipating him to get drafted, which shows that he didn't develop the way that he should have been. So, everything hinges on Quinn Ewers' season this year.
A lot of pressure on him. I mean, but yeah, that's the thing too, is like, he doesn't have to be great. I mean, if he's great, awesome, because that means Texas is probably making the playoff. But I mean, he has to be better. He has to be more consistent, level-headed, manage games well, and, a couple times a drive, a few times a half, maybe make some big time throws.
Yeah, he was the highest rated recruit ever, right? It was him, Vince Young, and Arch, right? So, and that's funny because all three of them at Texas, right? So, heaviest the head that wears the crown, right? So, when you're the number one player in the country coming out of high school and one of the most highly recruited players ever and the most highly ranked player ever besides Vince Young, at that time, a lot is expected of you. And that's, it is what it is. It might not be fair, but hey, you're getting a lot of stuff from having their rankings. I'm talking about NIL deals. You're getting a whole lot of stuff for having their rankings. You kind of walked into a starting position here at Texas. Now it's time to, to put up. It is what it is, So Quinn has to have a great season this year. I think everything is riding on his shoulders this year. He has to be the guy that's going to, get the ball out and have it just strictly distributed out to the right guys at the right time. He has the weapons. His line is going to be better this year. Yes, he's missing Bichon and he's missing Rojo, but I think his offensive line is going to be better to where Brooks is going to be very effective this year. I think Chayton Blue might be effective this year as well. Keelan Robinson's going to have a lot of opportunities this year as well. And I love CJ Baxter, but those kids from Florida, they don't have the weight rooms and the facilities and the coaching staffs that we have at Texas, right? High school kids in Texas. I mean, look at Allen's high school. Allen's high school looks like a college. They're freaking state. I mean, it's college facilities. They rival, some Group of 5 colleges, to be honest with you, when it comes to facilities. So those kids from Florida, the kids from, Florida and Alabama, Louisiana, they don't have all those facilities, and it takes them a while to get ramped up. So, Baxter, I think he's going to have a good season this year, but I think you're going to see it later on in the season once his body kind of matures and he's up for it. And I think that's when he can be very dangerous in those last 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, that's when Bijan Robinson started breaking out back in 2020. It's not like he was coming in right away. So, yeah. I mean, overall, I think fall camp's just going to, like you were kind of saying, I mean, everyone's just going to be waiting to see what, a couple of the key guys, namely Quinn, are going to be doing during fall camp. Are they handling it well? Are they staying healthy? Are they confident heading into the season? It is nice that we know the quarterback heading into this season. There's no panic one day because a bunch of people reported Hudson Card's going to be the starter. So, but I'll transition. I mean, do y'all have any other things you wanted to talk about for fall camp before I think it'd be cool to go around, just get everyone's breakout player for fall camp, or who y'all think maybe pinpoint is the person that needs to take the next step, maybe multiple players.
I think The breakout player fall camp will be on defense will be Jalen Catalon. People just saying how different the defense can be with him on the back end, with the type of speed and playmaking he can make. On offense, I think it's going to continue to be A.D. Mitchell with perhaps Isaiah Nair. And then I guess on special teams, I'll say Jaden Blue because I think he'll be really good as a kick returner.
So I'll go back to a guy I mentioned earlier. I think DJ Campbell, you're just going to keep hearing his name over and over. First time, hopefully that he's fully healthy in nearly 8 months. And I think he's going to push his way to that starting right guard position, which is then going to force Kyle Flood's hand to make that choice at center. Is it Hudson? Is it Majors? And, I think it's going to end up being Hudson. But I think DJ Campbell, every single practice report you're going to see is going to be another strong day for DJ Campbell. Another strong day for DJ Campbell. And then also, someone mentioned his name earlier, but Manny Muhammad. I think just the more reps he gets, especially against the bevy of receivers that Texas has, it's going to make him better, and he's going to exponentially grow day in and day out. So come the end of fall camp, I think he's going to be a guy that PK is going to feel comfortable putting on the field when needed.
Yeah, so for the defense side of the ball, I think my player is going to be Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy's a dog. I mean, he's a dog, man. I mean, watching him in high school, he was awesome. But I just think that with the talent that Texas had over the last couple of years, we haven't seen him get the opportunity to get the snaps that'll make him just really, really efficient. He had to play behind Coburn and Sweat. But I think now him playing next to Sweat this year and being, able to get a lion's share of those snaps. I think Byron Murphy is going to have a great season, and it's going to be his last season here at Texas. He is that talented. For the offensive side of the ball, I was going to say DJ Campbell. But Shane got me on that one. I think DJ is going to be outstanding this year. I'm going to say Jonathan Brooks. And that might seem like an easy answer to say because he is going to be the starting running back for the most part. But I remember in 2004, 2005, when Cedric Benson got drafted, and people were like, who the hell is going to, take up for Cedric Benson, leading everything here at Texas. And we had this guy named Adrian Peterson who whiffed and didn't come to Texas. Right. And so we're like, we missed out on Adrian Peterson. Who the hell is going to be our starting running back here for the 2005 season? And we had this little kid from the Golden Triangle named Jamal Charles, who was a 4-star recruit, but wasn't Adrian Peterson that everybody wanted, and had to fill in for the footsteps of a guy like Cedric Benson. So I look at Jonathan Brooks, and he's having to fill in some big footsteps for Bijan Robinson. And he might not have been the most highly touted running back coming from the state when he came out, but Texas got a great early eval on him and stuck with him. And he's shown to be very explosive every time he's had the opportunity to get the ball. So I think I'm betting some money that Jonathan Brooks is going to have a hell of a season this year. I think he's going to be out to prove something. And he's going to be great.
Yeah, I think DJ Campbell was the popular choice here. I'll go on offense. I'll give two freshmen because these are two guys that I've kind of pinpointed for a while that I think could surprise some. On offense, I'm going to go a little deeper down the depth chart here. I'm going to say Ryan Niblett. I've heard some good things about him since he arrived on campus. It sounds like he's a little bit more polished than a lot of people expected, and that. Given that dude's physical tools, his elusiveness, man, not to mention our need for a future slot receiver, I think he's a guy that, if he comes in and he's really, making some waves this fall, that he can push DeAndre Moore for those second-team reps at slot receiver. I think he's going to be someone to watch. Obviously, he's just crazy fast. Clocked in 22 miles an hour or something. Crazy straight line speed. Another freshman just on defense for me, I like Leona LaFau. I think Jeff Choate and Pete Kwiatkowski are cooking with something here with some of the linebackers they have. Anthony Hill's obviously the impact guy at linebacker among the freshmen, but I think Darian Gallette's going to have a really bright future at Texas if he can stay healthy, if he can get his knee right. LaFau, I think, is going to be a stud. Because I think there's a good chance he could be a starter next year when Jalen Ford's gone. So he's going to be a really important guy. Otherwise, this is one that I need to see more from. Like, I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a breakout player, but I would like to see it as Jalen Gilbo. Gilbo, when he was healthy last year, did some great things. It's just, injuries. What was it? Lower body injury against Oklahoma State. He's had 2 different injuries. I get them 2 mixed up, but yeah, and caused him to essentially miss all of spring. And limited points during summer too, but it sounds like he's finally starting to get back into the swing of things. And so, Texas just has so much DB depth that if he doesn't make this push now, that eventually he's going to start getting passed up. Because if you just look at the star position, yeah, Jahdae Barron's probably leaving after this season, but Gilbo, while a lot of people think he's probably the natural one to be next up, Texas has so much depth coming in at star, even in the 2024 class. Jordan Johnson-Bell, Corian Gibson. I think Gibson's probably best at safety, and even though Texas probably pitched him at cornerback. But Gibson could be a guy that challenges there too. Gilbo, Austin Jordan. So, yeah, those are my guys. Y'all did a pretty good job covering the upperclassmen, though. Let me ask this then for y'all. If you I mentioned Jalen Gilbo as a guy that needs to kind of fight to keep his spot on the 2 deep for the future. I don't know how many big position battles beyond the interior of the offensive line there will be in fall camp. Are there any? Here, let's go Will linebacker. Who do y'all think is going to be the starter there? I guess that's one.
I think Blackwell.
Blackwell over Benda?
I think so. What do you think, Tarik?
I think Anthony Hill.
I don't think he starts. I don't think he starts right away.
I do, because I think I think what they're going to have him do, they're just going to make his role kind of more of a wild card in a way, and they'll also say, well, we have Ford to get you exactly where you need to be, so we'll put you there. Now, I mean, either way, he'll play a lot, but what I want to get to Andrew's point is the fact that there's not a ton of position battles, I think, is a good thing, because it means Sark can just, unlock more of the offense and do more of those things, and you can do more defense because you're not trying to figure out who's going to be playing. You can just be installing more stuff and build more camaraderie. I think just knowing, for example, that, Quinn is your starter, that you have your starting running back and all those other types of things, that's going to be good. But yeah, I'll say Anthony Hill.
I'd agree with Nino and go with Mo Blackwell. I just have pause with Benda because he's been here so long. I
love Mo, though. I do love Mo.
Yeah. I mean, so Benda's been here so long and, has had opportunities to step up. And it sounds like, he's grabbing the bull by the horns now. But it just for, I don't know, I just have pause with that. Mo Blackwell obviously making the transition down from the secondary. I think that whole spring really helped him, and he's a more talented player. And once he becomes more of a natural at the position, I think he's a better player than Benda. So,
yeah. I think the only thing with Benda is he's so good against the pass. I mean, he's really good against the pass. He's just not a good run stuffer. All right, and if he can just get that aspect of his game intact, I mean, I think they can be awesome at the wheel. But Andrew, I do think we have one battle on defense that's not getting talked about, and I think that's going to be at the field cornerback, and that's either between Gavin Holmes and Terrence Brooks. And I think that's going to be a battle to kind of watch in the fall, because Terrence Brooks has all the upside. I mean, he has the length, he has the size, and he's quick twitch, he's fast, he's good in single man coverage as well. But Gavin is the guy that we got out of the portal, who was one of the best, cornerbacks in the ACC last year. So I think that's going to be a pretty good battle there as well.
I would agree with that, but I would throw Malik Muhammad in that conversation too.
Yeah, yeah. We're pretty deep, man. We're pretty deep. I love it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Well, because you could still throw Jade Barron over at field corner too if you absolutely had to, and
And then,
he's kind of played that role before. He's awesome. Jalen Gilbo also played corner in high school, so you have a ton of guys you could
yeah,
throw over there. Um, yeah, I would agree. I know we've talked field corner a lot since spring ball. Shane, I think you were high on Terrence Brooks. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like as the season progressed, he only got better, and big pedigree coming out of high school. So, I mean, I have the same reaction as Nino. It is nice to have this kind of depth at the cornerback spot. I don't know, can Terrence Brooks be that lockdown guy? That's still a question to ask, but I feel very comfortable with him on the field. And I think 6 weeks in, we could look up and we could say Brooks' side of the field is completely blanketed. So is Watts. And, this, once whole pass defense was last year has now turned into a strength for the defense. I think we could very well be talking about that midway through the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll leave it on this for if y'all have anything else you want to touch on position battles, I'm glad that we don't have a ton to talk about heading into fall camp. It's nice. But this is my bold prediction for the secondary heading into the season, and this is really the last thing I had to say in general, is that I think that there's a good to fair chance that both Derek Williams and Malik Muhammad can be pushing starter level reps by the end of the season, because Derek Williams is looking too good in the small amount of time he's been on campus to keep him off the field this fall. Wrote about that a ton.
Well, they don't call him Raptor for nothing.
yeah. That dude has an NFL body already.
He does, yeah. He's an SEC safety, man. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an SEC set. That, my friends, is SEC caliber player right there, and it's not even close.
He's Caden Stearns with a better attitude.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we're losing both safeties. And I mean, I'd be ignoring the elephant in the room if I said that Jalen Catalon's health won't be a concern at least. Exactly. And so having a guy like Derek Williams waiting in the wings is going to be a real luxury this year.
Don't sleep on my boy BJ Allen. He's gonna be good too.
Yeah,
I could see him being like the fourth safety, because I just don't trust Keaton Crawford that much.
He's so much of an athlete. It's the other stuff, right? So his natural God-given ability is just off the charts, but it's it's the football part.
In Keaton Crawford and Jalen Catalon, you have a perfect case study in the difference between a great athlete and a great football player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Keaton Crawford has he's got the perfect body, he's really fast, all that. Great athlete. Jalen Catalon, there's a lot of guys who run faster than him. There's a lot of guys who are bigger than him.
He can just ball.
But he just knows how to play football. He knows how to make plays.
And I love Keaton Crawford, guys. I love him. I mean, I want to see him do outstanding here. But the way that this staff has been, getting players, honestly, Derek Williams is going to press for time this year, Andrew, just like you said. He's going to press for time this year. And if Catalon can't stay healthy, I mean, who's the next man up? I mean, is it Derek Williams? I mean, I would think he would have an opportunity to be, outstanding at that position. Would they push back Barron to safety, or maybe tinker with moving Watts to safety, who a lot of people think that's his natural position for the NFL is going to be safety? So we got a lot of options. I haven't heard any reports of them, cross-training Watts at safety or not, but still Barron can play some safety, which will force us to be able to put, star position, maybe push Gavin into the star and Terrence Brooks at the field side corner, or vice versa, or just have Gilbo at the star. And I mean, we have options. We have an unlimited amount of options, which is awesome.
Yeah, I guess I keep saying that. I'll say the last thing, but I'm excited to talk about fall camp. Warren Roberson, I've heard good things about him, so I would like to see him have. I think he's a lot better than a lot of people thought when we added him late in the 2023 cycle. So, yeah, no, I mean, that's the beauty. We've mentioned this a lot on the show, Nino, that the point that you were getting at there was like, yeah, I mean, all these guys are so versatile. They can play multiple positions in the secondary. So, even though the numbers at one position might not look great on the depth chart itself, just on paper, you can just slide guys around. Terrence Brooks can move to safety too, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, I always listen to, Mike Harge, him, Babers as well. And they always talk about positionless football, right? And, that's something that the 49ers do. They have players who can play like multiple positions, and it just helps them out. So when somebody goes down, let's say if Christian McCaffrey goes down, you got the opportunity to put Debo back there and he can do his thing. If Christian is healthy, you can put Debo at the slot or just play him wherever. So it's all about making each player as versatile and as flexible as possible. And I think Texas is definitely stacking up the roster with guys like that. Even with a guy, let's say like Bledsoe. Bledsoe can go inside, he can go outside. Chris Ross is kind of the same way. Who else am I thinking about? Who's the jack? We were just talking about Finkley. Yeah, Finkley is so great with his hands in the dirt, but I think he can also stand up if need be. So you can kind of line these guys up wherever, right? So you can line them up just like in certain situations. I might not be able to put Finkley, with his hand in the dirt for 50 snaps a game, but I can do it for 20, right? And then he can stand up for 10 snaps in the game and still give me 30 really good reps, right? And so, look, man, they got a very talented team. They are stacking up the talent here at Texas. I think that's awesome, and they're getting ready for 2024. And you see it with the classes that they're bringing in, especially on the line. That 7-man class from 2022, man, it was outstanding. Headed up by Campbell and Banks, and then in 2023, getting that line class, headed up by Chapman though, but having Stroh and Gooseby and Kojo and Kirkland, I mean, just getting those guys on campus as well, which a lot of those guys are pieces that got to be developed, but you can kind of bank on. Getting those guys in and putting some kind of season on them right now, because you don't have to rely on those guys to come in and start like Texas has had to in the past. Like we had to start Connor Williams immediately, which was probably not the best option for him or us. We had to start Cosme immediately. We're kind of getting away from that, right? And then, starting off with this year as well, getting a Cruz who's going to be the center for this team, and, getting a Kibble. And then there's some other guys that are kind of, in the pipelines now. So, look, Texas is building up to depth, but it's about versatility for all these players. And I just love what Sark's doing with the team.
Hey, here's to hoping we get Brandon Baker too.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we do actually.
Hey, I don't doubt it. We're looking good for him.
I hope so.
Kyle Flood, man, he's getting those guys that are leaning toward West Coast schools, man. He just snaps them right up.
I've been watching recruiting a long time. What George is doing right now is just insane.
It's insane.
I was like, they can't really take all these tackles, right? then they got Nia Daniels, and they're putting Calhoun in the at a guard spot. I was like,
yeah.
Ooh, man.
I mean, 6'7". What is he? 6'6", 360 right now? Calhoun?
Yeah. Nia Daniels is even bigger than him.
Jesus Christ, man.
And they're and they might not be done. They're still they just got Jonah Joseph Ajanye, didn't they?
Did they? I'm not sure. I've been moving this past week. Man.
Yeah. Yep. A couple days ago.
I've been moving this past week. So I'm out of it.
And then they're still kind of trending for that other guy that Oklahoma wants, that number one guy in On 3. I can't pronounce his name.
Williams Winery or something like that.
That's the one. So it's like, I mean, Jerry Hamilton said like 3 months ago, Georgia is going to have the number one class, and then you're fighting for like 2 through 5.
Yeah. Godly. 1, 2, 3. They already got 4 or 5 stars in their team.
They just do that in the trenches for the most part.
I don't. They just breed them differently in Georgia. I mean, the crazy thing is that the down decade that we had, he took such a bad time to have the down decade because Texas could have had some amazing classes that all went to Ohio State or went to Alabama.
Stanford, Alabama. Yeah. But the crazy part is that Georgia, they're not recruiting lights out in their own state. Kirby is doing it nationally, which is the crazy thing. I mean, his whole offensive line class, I think Calhoun, he's from Georgia, but everybody else, if I'm not mistaken, he has 2 from Texas.
He's doing what Pete Carroll used to do.
Yeah, just go get whoever I want. All right.
Yeah,
and just say, look, I'm winning. You're gonna go to the league. Come over here.
There's just he has to love the challenge of it. Of because even Calhoun's only lived in Georgia for a few years. He's not even a Georgia fan.
Yeah.
Or didn't grow up one.
He is now.
Yeah, I know. He is now. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if y'all got any. I mean, finishing thoughts. Going around. I don't have much else to say. I'm excited for the season. I guess. If I had to, I'll say this. Bold prediction. I'm gonna say Texas goes undefeated in November. I'll leave it on that.
Oh, I guess if we're gonna end on bold predictions,
you don't have to. That's just what I was saying.
I'm not gonna bet against Saban. I won't be shocked though if Texas actually wins in Tuscaloosa, but I wouldn't bet on it. So, but that's not bold enough. So I will say that Texas will win the Big 12, but in doing so, they will also win Red River again by at least 2 scores.
Yeah, fair. Sorry. Before anyone else goes, Tarik, I think we know this year who's going to be the most optimistic when it comes to score predictions again.
Me?
Yeah.
I was covering pretty well last year.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Hey, that's what happens when you actually watch the other teams,
Yeah. I think this is just food for thought, no bold prediction, but, kind of piggybacking off the recruiting talk. Texas has been able to recruit at this level without really winning that much. Imagine if and when the winning comes. I think it's going to rival Kirby recruiting, knock on wood. But, also drop a feeler out for the Alabama game. I'm going to be in New York City. If anyone's watching here, knows watch parties in the city, let me know because I want to be there. But I'll get that feeler out early.
Yeah, so there's a bar down in Manhattan. I went there with the wife on our anniversary a couple of years ago. We watched Texas versus TCU. Golly, what's the name of the bar? I forgot, man. But but just Google it, man. They got a really nice Texas bar out there for the game.
Cool.
Really nice bar.
McLaren's?
I forgot the name of the damn place. Yeah, it's nice, man.
Cool.
All right. So I think my bold take, Andrew, Texas is going to beat Alabama. That's my bold take, and I'm saying that because
you just had to go there.
Well, no. Look, I'm gonna be at the game, all right? So my wife's from Alabama. She's from Greene County. It's maybe 40 minutes away from Tuscaloosa.
I served part of my mission there.
Oh, did you? Yeah, so both my sister-in-laws went to Alabama. I got 2 nieces that went to Alabama. I'm the lone Texas guy in the family. I just think Texas is in a better place at their quarterback position than Alabama is, and I think Alabama is really searching right now, searching to see who's going to take that job. And this is a little bit late in the game to be searching. New offensive coordinator, new DC as well. And I know Nick Saban is the great CEO. He's the best coach of all time in college football. I don't think it's close. However, I think Texas is going to go in there and handle business. I like Texas's quarterback position better than Bama's, and I think we'll be fine. There's no Bryce Young coming to that door this year.
It's closer to like a Blake Barnett or Jake Coker, I think, than it is a Bryce Young or Tua or anyone like that.
Yeah, but for Alabama. Alabama did win a championship with Coker. However, they had probably their best running back in the history of their school behind him who was killing folks every game, right, and Derrick Henry. So they got a stacked running back room, but there's no Derrick Henry coming through that door. There's no Bryce Young coming through that door this year. I do love Jalen Milroe. I think he's an outstanding player. What kind of offense is Alabama going to install? Because they got 3 different quarterbacks that do 3 different things. So I think they got a lot on their plate in this offseason.
When was the last time that Alabama played a Big 12 team in the non-con? Is that West Virginia like a decade ago?
No, they played Oklahoma with Baker, right? Didn't they play Oklahoma with Baker?
That was Ohio State.
That was Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then, Georgia played Oklahoma with Kyler, right?
That was in the playoff.
Yeah, playoff. Okay. All right.
Tennessee was Oklahoma back in the mid-2010s.
Yeah. I mean, well, with Saban, he doesn't really like to do those big out-of-conference games. And certainly this is his first home and home. Like with FSU, he just did in USC.
Neutral site.
Neutral site down in Atlanta, right? So
yeah.
It was West Virginia back in like 2013 or 2014 then.
Yeah.
It was the last time they played a Big 12 team in the non-con.
Yep. Yeah, I'll be at the game. You guys will see me in true burnt orange. I'll probably be in the sea of all red. You know, my wife got the ticket. She's an Alabama fan, so I'm probably sitting in the middle of a bunch of Roll Tide folks, and you'll see me in the crowd. I'm going to have the biggest bright orange shirt on.
Let's go.
I'm going to be talking all kind of shit.
Good luck. Good luck.
Like, just so we're clear, it's not that I don't think Texas can win that game. I think they can. It's just I won't bet against Saban.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I get it. He's the best coach.
Now, there's the one time I actually did bet against Saban. I won it. It was when Trevor Lawrence played Alabama. I said they're going to win the game. Now that I did not expect
that kind of beat.
I was that was a throttling. I was like, what is going on? I kept rubbing my eyes. I'm like, this can't be.
This can't be a Saban coach team.
Yeah, it can't be.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, your point's well taken. I think what Milroe and others will do for Texas, though, is it's going to prepare them for a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the Big 12. So it's like, if you can chase this guy down, you know, Jalen Daniels isn't as strong as Milroe, but he's lethal like that. Obviously, Hunter Deckers can run. Dylan Gabriel can run. All these quarterbacks can run. So, I mean, Quinn can run too, but I think it'll be a good prep. I expect Milroe to be the guy, especially considering he's the only one with starting experience.
Oh, Buckner.
If
good, I hope
if it's Buckner, we might win that game. I'll
say even if it's gonna be interesting. Hey, look, man, I'm just ready for the game, man. I'm tired of talking to my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law never texts me, but last year prior to the game, she texts me, "We're gonna whoop your ass." I'm like, "Whoa, where did this come from?" Right? Yeah, like you don't text me, but after the game,
you didn't.
And that was a damn safety they didn't give us either. So I'm still crying about that.
Or the field goal that we missed, you know.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right. Well, I got it. I think I got it about an hour 20 here. So I think we got a good amount of content out for this video. Well, Nino, I appreciate you joining us.
Man, anytime. Anytime,
conversation. Man. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that there's just so much to talk about in the way of obviously the expectations for this season, just all of the different ways you can look at recruiting right now, heading into the season, transition to the SEC. And so, it's nice that, we can look at, again, kind of championship level expectations, at least within the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe push for the playoff, but I'm not going to get too far out in front of my skis on that.
Yeah.
If you beat Alabama, we'll have that conversation.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Alabama.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, guys.
Well, for Andrew Miller, Tarik LaCour, Shane Black from Headlines.com, and Nino from NinosCorner Sports, go check out his channel as well. I don't want to roll out of here without saying that. Yeah, go check out his channel. Go check out his Twitter page. I'll link all that down in the description below, as well as our site and everything as always. But anyway, for all of us, welcome. Cool.